They said Mila was the problem. They said no man could ever stay with her. Every time love came close, it disappeared without a reason. People laughed, whispered, and judged without knowing the truth. But what if Mila was never unwanted? What if someone was secretly destroying her chances at happiness? And what if the truth was buried in her mother's past? This is not just a love story. It is a story of secrets, betrayal, and a woman who refused to be broken. Watch till the end, because the reason no man wanted her will shock you. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Mila learned early that words could hurt more than silence. In her small town, people did not whisper kindly. They spoke just loud enough for you to hear, then smiled as if nothing was wrong. Mila heard those voices everywhere, at the market, at family gatherings, even in church. "That's the one," someone once said behind her. "No man ever stays with her." Mila was 28. She worked hard, dressed neatly, and treated people with respect. She was not rude. She was not careless. She was not lazy. Yet, somehow, she carried a name she never chose. Unwanted. That afternoon, Mila stood at the back of a wedding hall, holding a small gift wrapped in silver paper. The bride was her cousin. The hall was bright with laughter and music, but Mila felt invisible, like a shadow pressed against the wall. As she waited for the right moment to greet the bride, she overheard two women talking behind her. "She's pretty, but something is wrong with her," one said. "Yes," the other replied. "Men leave her like she brings bad luck." They laughed softly. Mila's fingers tightened around the gift. Her chest burned, but she forced a smile and walked away. She had learned how to pretend. Pretending was easier than explaining pain to people who enjoyed giving it. When she finally got home that evening, the silence felt heavy. Her small apartment smelled of dust and old memories. She dropped her bag, kicked off her shoes, and sat on the floor. That was when the tears came. Not loud tears, just quiet ones that slid down her face and fell on her dress. Mila covered her mouth so no one would hear her cry, even though she was alone. Her phone buzzed. A message from her aunt. "You're not getting younger, Mila. Pray harder. Maybe God will change your story." Mila closed her eyes. Her story. Every relationship she had ever entered ended the same way. Sudden distance, strange fear, excuses that never made sense. Men who once loved her began to look at her like they were afraid. No fights, no cheating, just disappearance. She stood up and walked into her late mother's room. The room had remained untouched since her mother died 3 years ago. Mila cleaned it sometimes, but she never stayed long. The memories were too heavy. Her mother had been her only real safe place. As Mila dusted the shelf, a Bible slipped and fell to the floor. Pages opened near the middle. Mila bent to pick it up and froze. Something was hidden inside, an old folded letter. Her heart beat faster as she pulled it out. The paper was yellow and fragile. Her mother's handwriting covered the page. "Mila, if you ever find this, forgive me." Mila's hands shook. The letter spoke of fear, of a promise made under pressure, of a debt that could not be paid with money. There was a name written at the bottom, a name Mila had never seen before. She read the letter again and again, trying to understand. Her mother had known something dangerous, something powerful enough to follow Mila into her adult life. Mila sank onto the bed. "All this time," she whispered. Her phone rang suddenly, making her jump. It was a number she didn't recognize. She answered carefully. "Hello?" There was silence on the other end. Then the call ended. Mila stared at the phone, her heart racing. For the first time, the label placed on her life did not feel like a curse. It felt like a warning. And Mila realized something that night. Maybe no man wanted her. Not because she was broken, but because someone had made sure of it. For a long time, Mila stopped believing in promises. She told herself love was not for everyone. Some people were meant to build quiet lives alone, and maybe she was one of them. That belief helped her breathe. It helped her wake up each morning without hope hurting her. Then Ryan came. Ryan was calm in a way that felt safe. He listened when Mila spoke and never rushed her words. He did not ask too many questions about her past, and Mila was grateful for that. With him, silence felt comfortable, not heavy. They met through work, slowly became friends, and then something gentle grew between them. For the first time in years, Mila laughed without fear. She caught herself smiling at her phone again. People noticed. "Be careful," her aunt warned. "Men don't stay." Mila nodded, but deep inside she wanted to believe this time was different. Ryan proved her right, or so it seemed. One evening, he took her to a quiet restaurant by the road. Candles flickered softly. His hands shook slightly as he reached into his pocket. "Mila," he said, clearing his throat. "I don't know why life has been unfair to you, but I know I want to be part of your future." When he brought out the ring, Mila froze. The restaurant faded away. Her heart beat so loudly she thought people could hear it. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered yes. For the first time, the word unwanted loosened its grip. The engagement party was planned quickly. Family, friends, co-workers, everyone came. Some smiled with joy. Others came with curiosity, like they were waiting for something to go wrong. Mila wore a simple blue dress. She stood beside Ryan, holding his hand, feeling proud and afraid at the same time. Halfway through the celebration, the doors opened. A woman walked in. She was older, dressed neatly, her eyes sharp and focused. She did not smile. She walked straight toward Ryan as if she owned the place. Mila felt a strange chill. The woman leaned close and whispered something into Ryan's ear, just one sentence. Mila watched Ryan's face change. The warmth drained from his eyes. His hand slowly slipped from Mila's grip. "Mila, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice shaking. They stepped aside. Music continued behind them, but the world felt silent. "I can't do this," Ryan said suddenly. Mila stared at him. "Do what?" "I can't marry you." Her ears rang. "Ryan, what are you saying?" He avoided her eyes. "I'm sorry. I should have listened from the beginning." "Listen to who?" Mila asked, her voice breaking. Ryan took a step back, as if standing near her hurt him. "Please don't ask me questions. Just forgive me." People were watching now. Whispers started. Phones lifted. Mila felt her knees weaken. "You loved me," she whispered. "What changed?" Ryan said nothing. He removed the ring from her finger and placed it in her palm. His hand trembled as he closed her fingers around it. Then he walked away. Mila stood there, frozen, holding the ring like it was burning her skin. The woman who whispered to Ryan turned to leave. Something inside Mila snapped. She grabbed her bag and followed the woman outside, ignoring the shocked voices calling her name. "Wait!" Mila called. The woman stopped under a streetlight and slowly turned around. Her eyes held no fear, only cold certainty. "You should stop chasing what doesn't belong to you," the woman said calmly. "Who are you?" Mila demanded. "What did you tell him?" The woman looked at her closely, then smiled slightly. "I knew your mother," she said. Mila's breath caught. Before she could ask anything else, the woman walked away and disappeared into the night. Mila stood there alone, her engagement destroyed, her heart in pieces. But beneath the pain, one truth became clear. This was not bad luck. Someone was watching her life. Mila did not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ryan's face change. One whisper, one sentence, and everything ended. The sound of the woman's voice echoed in her head. "I knew your mother." By morning, Mila's eyes were swollen from crying, but her mind was clear. She was done running from questions. If someone was pulling strings in her life, she needed to see their face. She returned to the street where the engagement party had ended. She asked shop owners, security men and drivers if they had seen the woman. Most shook their heads. One old shopkeeper paused. "She comes here sometimes," he said. "Quiet woman, always watching." "Do you know her name?" Mila asked. "Mrs. Crowley," he replied. That's what people call her. The name felt heavy on Mila's tongue. 2 days later, Mila saw her. Mrs. Crowley sat alone at a small cafe near the bus stop, sipping tea. Mila's heart pounded as she approached. "I need to talk to you," Mila said. Mrs. Crowley looked up slowly, not surprised at all. "I knew you would come." "Why did you do this?" Mila asked. "Why did you ruin my engagement?" Mrs. Crowley placed her cup down carefully. "I didn't ruin anything. I saved him." "Saved him from what?" Mila demanded. Mrs. Crowley's eyes hardened. "From you." Mila's hands shook. "You don't even know me." "Oh, but I know enough," the woman replied. "Your life follows a pattern. Men come close, then they leave. That is not an accident." Mila leaned forward. "You said you knew my mother." Mrs. Crowley smiled faintly. "Your mother asked for mercy once. She was given money and silence instead." "What does that mean?" Mila whispered. "It means you should stop asking questions," Mrs. Crowley said calmly. "Some doors, when opened, destroy lives." Mila stood up. "You don't get to control my life." Mrs. Crowley rose as well, her voice low. "You already live in the shadow of a powerful family. You just don't know it yet." Before Mila could ask more, Mrs. Crowley walked away. That evening, Mila visited her mother's old friend, Mrs. Allen, who lived near the edge of town. The woman looked nervous when Mila mentioned her mother's name. "She worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy family," Mrs. Allen said softly. "They were important people." "Why did she leave?" Mila asked. Mrs. Allen hesitated. "She left because she was afraid." Afraid. The word settled deep in Mila's chest. Mrs. Allen pulled out an old photo from a box. Mila's breath caught. It was her mother, young, smiling, standing beside a tall man in a fine suit. His face was partly turned, but his presence was strong. Mila recognized him instantly. Mr. Kingsley, a famous businessman, a respected man. Her heart raced. Her mother had known him. That night, Mila sat alone in her room staring at the photo. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number appeared. "Stop digging." Mila locked her phone and whispered, "No." For the first time in her life, fear did not silence her. It fueled her. And Mila knew one thing for sure. The truth was closer than ever. And someone was desperate to keep it buried. Stood across the wide road, staring at the tall iron gate in front of her. Kingsley Estate. The name alone carried weight. High walls, cameras, armed guards. Everything about the place said power, control, and secrets that did not want to be uncovered. Her hands trembled, but she clenched them into fists. "This is where it all leads," she told herself. Mila walked toward the gate slowly. The guard looked her over, his eyes filled with doubt. "I want to see Mr. Kingsley," she said. The guard frowned. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Mila replied honestly. "But this is important." After several phone calls and long looks, the gate finally opened. Mila stepped inside. The compound was beautiful in a cold way. Green lawns cut perfectly, tall trees standing like silent witnesses. A massive house rose ahead of her, shining and distant. Mila felt small walking through it, like she did not belong in this world. She was led into an elegant sitting room. Soft couches, glass tables, expensive paintings on the walls. Mila sat down, her back straight, her heart racing. Minutes passed. Then the door opened. Mr. Kingsley walked in. He was older than Mila expected, tall and well-dressed, his face calm and unreadable. This was the man from the photograph, the man her mother once stood beside. Mila's throat tightened. "It's you," she whispered. Mr. Kingsley stopped walking. His eyes met hers for a brief second before turning cold. "Why are you here?" he asked. Mila stood up and reached into her bag. She pulled out the old photograph and placed it on the table. "You knew my mother," she said. "This picture proves it." Mr. Kingsley glanced at the photo, just one glance. Then he pushed it away. "I don't know that woman," he said sharply, "and I don't appreciate being accused in my own house." Mila felt her chest burn. "That's a lie. She worked here. She left suddenly. She was afraid. Mr. Kingsley stood. You need to leave. Before Mila could speak again, the door opened. Mrs. Kingsley entered. She looked Mila up and down with disgust. So this is her, Mrs. Kingsley said. The reminder that refuses to disappear. Mila's heart skipped. You know who I am? Mrs. Kingsley laughed bitterly. You look just like your mother. Same eyes. Same stubbornness. Mila stepped forward. What did my mother do to deserve this? Mrs. Kingsley's smile vanished. She forgot her place. The words hit Mila like a slap. Mr. Kingsley raised his voice. Enough. This conversation ends now. Mrs. Kingsley walked closer to Mila. You should be grateful we allowed you to grow up quietly. Many girls are not so lucky. Guards entered the room. Mila's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to cry. As she was being escorted out, something caught her attention. Mr. Kingsley lifted his arm to adjust his jacket. On his wrist was a bracelet. Mila froze. Her breath caught in her chest. She pointed at it. That bracelet. My mother gave it to you. For a moment, just one moment, Mr. Kingsley froze. That moment told Mila everything. Mrs. Kingsley noticed and smiled coldly. Get her out. The gates slammed shut behind Mila. She stood outside, shaking, her heart pounding with truth and anger. He had lied. That night, Mila returned home exhausted. She locked her door and sat on her bed, holding her mother's letter close to her chest. I won't stop, she whispered. A soft sound came from the door. Mila turned. Before she could react, the door burst open. Dark figures rushed in. She screamed. Minutes later, silence returned. Mila lay on the floor, trembling. The drawer was open. The letter was gone. And Mila finally understood something terrifying. This was no longer just about the past. She was in danger. The break-in changed everything. Mila stood in the middle of her small room, staring at the open drawer where the letter had been. Her mother's letter, the one that carried fear, truth, and answers, was gone. Her hands trembled as she searched again, even though she already knew. The letter had not fallen. It had not been misplaced. It had been taken. Mila sank onto the bed, her heart pounding. Someone had entered her home quietly, carefully, and left without a trace. Not her money, not her clothes, only the letter, only the truth. She reported it to the police the next morning. The officer listened with half interest, writing slowly. So, nothing else was stolen? He asked. No, Mila replied. Just the letter. He looked up. A letter from your late mother? Yes. He sighed. Madam, are you sure you didn't misplace it? Mila felt anger rise in her chest. I am sure. The officer closed his notebook. We'll look into it. She knew they wouldn't. 2 days later, the rumors started. At first, it was small. Strange looks from neighbors, whispers when she passed. Then her phone buzzed non-stop. Messages from co-workers, screenshots. Someone had posted lies about her online. They said she seduced engaged men. They said she was dangerous. They said she destroyed homes. Mila felt sick as she scrolled. By afternoon, her manager called her into the office. Mila, he said gently, avoiding her eyes, this is bad for the company. It's not true, Mila said quickly. Someone is trying to destroy me. He nodded, but fear sat in his eyes. We have clients. We have a reputation. That was how she lost her job. No warning, no chance to defend herself. Mila walked home slowly, the sun hot on her back, her future suddenly empty. Every step felt heavy. It was like invisible hands were pushing her down, forcing her into the ground. Her phone rang that night. Ryan. She stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Mila, he said softly, I'm sorry. Why? She asked. Why did you leave like that? There was silence. Then his voice dropped. They warned me. Who? Mila demanded. I can't say, he replied. They said they would ruin my career, my family, everything. So you chose yourself, Mila said quietly. I was scared, Ryan admitted. Please believe me. Mila closed her eyes. Fear doesn't excuse cruelty. She ended the call. That night, as Mila lay awake, pieces finally connected. Mrs. Crowley, Mr. Kingsley, the stolen letter, the rumours. This was not random. The next day, Mila followed Mrs. Crowley. She kept her distance, heart racing, as the woman entered a large, guarded compound. Mila stopped across the road, her breath catching. Above the gate was a familiar name, Kingsley Estate. Mila's knees weakened. Mrs. Crowley was not acting alone. She worked for them. The powerful family was watching Mila's every move, controlling who loved her, where she worked, and how the world saw her. Mila sat on a roadside bench and laughed softly, tears in her eyes. "So this is it," she whispered. They didn't just want her silent, they wanted her broken. But as the sun set, something inside Mila hardened. If they had built a trap this big, it meant the truth was far more dangerous than she imagined. And Mila decided something then. She would stop running. Because if they were willing to destroy her life to hide the truth, then the truth was worth fighting for. Mila did not recognize her life anymore. She woke up each morning unsure of who she could trust. The break-in had stolen more than her mother's letter. It had stolen her peace. Every sound made her flinch. Every unknown number felt like a threat. She stopped sleeping well, but Mila refused to disappear. 2 weeks after losing her job, she attended a small community seminar, one of those free legal talks people went to when they felt helpless. She sat at the back, listening without much interest, until a man's voice caught her attention. "Power does not make people right," he said. "It only makes them harder to challenge." His name was Daniel. Daniel was not loud or flashy. He spoke calmly, with confidence that came from knowledge, not pride. After the seminar, Mila waited until most people had left. "I need help," she said quietly. Daniel studied her face for a moment. "Tell me everything." They met the next day at a quiet cafe. Mila told him about her mother, the letter, the break-in, Mr. Kingsley, and Mrs. Crowley. She expected doubt. Instead, Daniel listened. When she finished, he leaned back slowly. "Your mother didn't leave that house by choice." Mila's heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I've seen cases like this," Daniel said. "Powerful families don't like scandals. They make problems disappear." For days they worked together. Daniel checked records, old employment lists, property documents, hidden payments. Late nights turned into early mornings. Somewhere between searching and talking, Mila began to feel safe again. Daniel never rushed her, never touched her without permission. He treated her like her story mattered, and that scared her. "Don't get close to me," Mila warned one night. "Everyone who does gets hurt." Daniel smiled gently. "I choose my risks." One evening, Daniel called her, his voice tense. "I found something," he said. They met immediately. Daniel showed her a document, an old bank transfer. A large sum of money had been paid to her mother years ago. The note beside it read, "Final settlement." Mila's chest tightened. "They paid her to disappear." "Yes," Daniel replied. "And when she refused to fully disappear, they watched you instead." Mila's hands shook. "So my whole life was controlled," Daniel finished softly. Tears filled Mila's eyes, but this time she did not look away. Daniel reached across the table, hesitating before touching her hand. "Mila, if we continue this, it won't be easy." "I know," she whispered. Outside, a car slowed down, watching the cafe. Mila noticed. So did Daniel. Love had found Mila again, but this time it came with a price. The confrontation could no longer be avoided. Daniel arranged a private meeting using legal pressure and evidence. Mr. Kingsley had no choice. The meeting was set at his office, formal, quiet, and controlled. Or so he believed. Mila walked in beside Daniel, her hands cold but her back straight. Mr. Kingsley looked up, his calm mask cracking for the first time. "You again," he said. "This ends today," Daniel replied. Mrs. Kingsley was already seated, her posture stiff. her eyes sharp with anger. Mrs. Crowley stood behind her like a shadow. Mila's chest tightened, but she did not step back. Daniel placed documents on the table. We have proof of illegal payments, witness intimidation, and manipulation of private citizens. Mrs. Kingsley laughed. You think papers scare us? Mila spoke then, her voice steady. You stole my life. Silence filled the room. Mr. Kingsley slammed his hand on the table. Enough! This was supposed to stay buried. Mrs. Kingsley turned to him in shock. What did you just say? The room froze. Mr. Kingsley's face drained of colour. Mila felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Mrs. Kingsley stood slowly. You promised me that girl meant nothing. She didn't, he snapped. Her mother did. The words fell like stones. Mila's breath caught. You knew she was pregnant. Mrs. Kingsley's voice broke, sharp and bitter. She trapped him. I warned her. I told her to take the money and disappear. Daniel leaned forward. And when she didn't? Mrs. Kingsley's eyes filled with rage. Then we made sure her child would never have a future. Mila's knees weakened. So it was true. Every broken relationship, every ruined chance. Planned. Mrs. Crowley spoke quietly. I only followed orders. Mila laughed once hollow. Orders to destroy a woman's life? Mrs. Kingsley suddenly clutched her chest, breathing heavily. I did what I had to do. She collapsed. Chaos followed. As people rushed to help, Mr. Kingsley whispered, his voice shaking, Your mother loved you. She tried to protect you. Mila stared at him, tears streaming. Then why didn't you? Before he could answer, Mrs. Kingsley gasped, her voice weak but clear. She was never meant to live long enough to tell you. The words hung in the air. Mila understood then. Her mother's death had not been fate. It had been silence, and the truth had finally come out. The world felt quiet after the truth came out. Too quiet. Mila sat alone in Daniel's car outside the hospital, staring through the window without really seeing anything. Her mind replayed every word, every confession, every look on Mrs. Kingsley's face before she collapsed. She was never meant to live long enough to tell you. That sentence burned deeper than anything Mila had ever heard. Her mother had not abandoned her. Her mother had protected her. Daniel sat beside her, silent, giving her space. When Mila finally spoke, her voice was steady but tired. So my whole life, she said softly, was punishment for a mistake I didn't make. Daniel shook his head. No, Mila. It was fear. They were afraid of the truth. The investigations moved fast after that. Documents were released, bank transfers exposed. Mrs. Crowley confessed everything. The media took over. The Kingsley name, once respected, was now questioned everywhere. Mr. Kingsley tried to see Mila again. She refused. Some doors did not deserve reopening. Weeks later, Mila stood in front of her mother's grave. The wind moved gently through the trees. She placed fresh flowers on the stone and knelt slowly. I spent so long thinking I was the problem, she whispered. They made me feel unwanted, unlovable. Her voice broke. But you loved me. You fought for me. Tears fell freely now, not from pain alone, but from release. I forgive you, Mila said, and I forgive myself. She stood up lighter than she had ever felt. Life did not become perfect overnight. Mila had to rebuild her career, her confidence, her trust. But this time she did it without shame. People who once whispered now watched in silence. Daniel stayed, but not as a savior. As a partner. As someone who chose her, openly and without fear. One evening, as they walked hand in hand, Mila smiled. For the first time, the label no longer followed her. No man wanted her. That had never been the truth. Mila was never unwanted. She was powerful enough to scare people who lived on lies. And now, she was finally free.